Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you today. We are here on episode 62. Let me check. Yes, no, episode, episode 63. Good to remember. Episode 63. Welcome back to the weekly Priestess Rise Up transmission. So, we're going to do things a little bit different today. I'm going to actually start with the prayer and meditation and then go into the teaching. So if it's your first time, I'm so delighted to connect with you. My name is Lisa Espinosa, and the focus of my work is to help you connect with your soul's guidance, connect with the master within you, connect with your true self, connect with the divinity within you, and be led from that place so that you can share your unique medicine, your unique gifts, your presence with the world in an unfiltered way, in an uncensored way. And this isn't about being in people's faces and being inappropriate and things like that. It's really about removing the veils, removing the masks. That's what's being asked of all of us. And, to back up a little bit, there's nothing wrong if you decide. I know there's times where being our authentic self is very raw and might be showing up a way that a lot of people might disapprove, and that's okay. So, this isn't about following any sort of code of conduct. If you're following your soul's guidance, you will be led. So, that's why we're here. Hello, Roxana. And like I said earlier, we're going to start with a prayer and we're going to start with a meditation, really quick one, because usually I do the teaching and then I lead into the meditation. But when I was connecting and preparing, that's what came. So I want to show you my candle that I have here, Our Lady of Guadalupe. You might be familiar with her. And she's an aspect of the Divine Mother. And this is actually a candle that I'm dedicating to my ancestors, specifically the mother of my mother and her mother, and so on, my maternal line. You might know or not know that today in Mexico, where I am broadcasting from, is it's the Days of the Dead. It's actually not just one day. And so it's a very special time over here. And I attended this last weekend a sweat lodge at the Temazcal dedicated to our ancestors. Now, I wrote in my blog about another Temazcal that I did about 2 months ago here, that I participated in, which was a warrior Temazcal. And I'll talk about that a little bit in today's transmission. But the most recent one, because the Days of the Dead were coming, was about our ancestors. And so part of the ceremony in the sweat lodge, it was all women. We each had a candle and we brought pictures. If we had pictures, we brought flowers. And it was really bringing honoring and healing to a specific ancestor. And that's who I was called to honor and really to clear any of the burdens and programming and wounds and any of all that. I know we talked about this a few weeks ago, that might be coming from my mother line. So anyway, I have this here because in honor of Days of the Dead, in case, and you're remembering someone, whether this is part of your tradition or not, you might be remembering someone dearly in your life that has passed on, and I should say, we also welcome our enlightened ancestors, right? I've talked about them before, right? Those ancestors that are here as your allies, that have so many gifts and blessings for you. So we welcome them as well. So that was my way of doing that, to have this candle lit. And so before anything, I invite you, and actually let me say this, when I say prayer, I understand that word might not resonate with you. So please replace it with whatever word does. I'm not talking about a religious or dogmatic practice. Prayer, you could substitute, the word invocation or connection or alignment, a divine meditation, a conversation, a communication. That's what I'm talking about. I'm just going to use the word prayer in this moment. And so I invite all of us to connect with our heart and connect with the earth. And to let yourself arrive in this moment. I don't know how you are arriving. I don't know if you've had a beautiful, amazing day, if you've had a challenging day, or just since last week, how it's been. However, it's been, welcome here. Enter this space. And I like to actually bring my hands, my palms over my heart center as opposed to the traditional prayer pose, but it's up to you, whatever feels right. Sometimes I'm called to do this, but in this moment, my hands are over my heart center. And I welcome the higher self. I welcome the souls of everyone here, whether you're here live or you're watching the replay. I welcome, of course, my own soul and my higher self. And I call on the oversoul of our community here. Again, whether you're here live, whether you're watching the replay later today or 5 years from today or whenever. We are all connected. And I call on the divine beings, the guardian angels of each of you. And again, you fill in the blank if that word doesn't resonate. Those divine beings, ascended masters that are your allies. And I welcome here only unconditional love. These that we open the space as we lift the veils, as we step into ceremony, as we step into sacred teachings. We welcome the protection of the Divine Mother, of the Creator, that only those beings that walk in unconditional love, that walk in divine wisdom, that walk in divine compassion, those are the ones we welcome here. And we ask the guardian angels of everyone here to lift off any heaviness, any unnecessary energy that might get in the way of you receiving the blessing, the teaching, the miracles that are here for you. And I want to make it clear that they don't come from me, right? I facilitate this space. I share my stories, my expertise. But the healing and the miracles it's not me sending them to you. I'm a channel. I'm opening humbly and with a lot of gratitude for whatever wants to come through today. And so we begin with a namaste. Namaste, everyone. And so today, I really want to talk about evolving the vision of yourself. And that's not even the right word. It's not even evolving. That's one way to say it, but it's really dissolving the old concepts, the old self-images you have of yourself, the old stories you have of yourself. So if you didn't read the blog I sent out, I was talking about a Temazcal, a sweat lodge that I participated in here in Mexico. And I've shared on Instagram a lot of my journey of relocating right from Chicago over here. And even though it's my ancestral home, I wasn't born or raised here, not in this lifetime anyway. And there's been a lot of miracles, a lot of blessings. One of them being that I can now attend sweat lodges, temazcals, very regularly. There's one walking distance from me. There's actually 3 in the beautiful healing center. And I shared a specific one that I attended 2 months ago that was a lot more intense than I thought it was going to be. I'd attended temazcals before, but this one, apparently my soul was like, you're ready. And so I was in this very intense experience with 18 other people. It was also the largest temazcal I've ever attended. And so, you can read it on my Facebook page. If you receive my newsletter, you can read it there if you want more details. But the point that I want to make here, there was a moment in the temazcal when it started and it was pitch black and I couldn't see anything, that I went into a panic. I have a little bit of claustrophobia. Parts of me do. And I was not nervous at all because I've attended these before and I haven't had that experience. But this one, it was just hotter. It was completely pitch black. It was what is called here a guerrero temazcal, a warrior temazcal. And it was, again, what I know, it wasn't an accident. I just didn't know going in. So when I was in there and it suddenly was completely dark, I went into a panic. It's like my chest was tightening up. I couldn't, just feeling myself get really like shortness of breath, right? So it was this moment of total panic and like, I have to get out of here. At the same time, when you're it's a circular dome. You can see a picture on my website or my Facebook page, not on my website, on my Facebook page or Instagram, and you're sitting around the circumference. So it's not that, even though, of course, the facilitator was like, if you need to get out, please, you can, you don't have to stay here. It was a very safe, I felt he was obviously very experienced. At the same time, I knew that if I decided to get out, I would have to crawl over like probably 8 other people or 9 other people's legs, kind of get out. I would interrupt their healing process. And I knew there were several new people in the Temascal that were already nervous and scared. So all this went through my head, and I was like, I don't want to ruin it for them, but also I am like incredibly panicked right now. And so it was this whole long journey of connecting with the grandmothers, the sacred grandmothers, the divine grandmothers, which I believe are these divine beings that bring in this divine grandmother energy. Not a human grandmother. And I know human grandmothers can be amazing, but they're also, human grandmothers, right? This is this divine medicine of the grandmother, right? This medicine of this, which is different than the mother. It's this like combination of wisdom, of experience, of humor, of this like adoration of her granddaughter, grandson, grandchild. And so the hot rocks at the center of this Temascal are known as las abuelitas, the grandmothers. And so as I was panicking, that's who I called upon, the grandmothers. I was like, oh my gosh, please, please help me, help me. I'm really panicking. If I'm supposed to stay here, which I think I am, if I came here, help me. And it was this whole journey of like, how do I stay? But I didn't want to stay because I felt bad about interrupting somebody else's process. If I stayed, I wanted to stay because it was my soul's guidance and because there was something that was going to be healed for me. And so this is where I'm coming around to connect with the self-concept. What started to happen was that, I heard the grandmothers talking amongst themselves, through my clairaudience. I wasn't thinking that in the Temascal, like my clairaudience is picking up on the grandmothers. This was just happening. If you've ever been in a situation where you feel a lot of fear, or you're kind of in that moment of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to like totally panic, but you're trying to come back to your center, that you're very, very present. It's like this like focus that we often can't experience in the rest of our lives. And so I was very, very present. I wasn't questioning anything. I was just really present, like, help me, help me, help me. And then it was like I was hearing the grandmothers talk amongst themselves about my initiations, many of them in my life. It's like they were letting me overhear this divine conversation they were having about me, of like, oh, remember what happened when she was a little girl? Remember when this happened to her? Remember when she went through this? Remember when she was a teenage mom? Remember when she had to go through her divorce and her family everybody thought she was a nut and crazy. Like it's like they were saying it. And it was interesting because they were saying it matter of fact. Sometimes they were saying it very tenderly, but it was like, I was overhearing this. And as they were saying this, I was kind of seeing a movie of it in my mind. And I also, was hearing them say, like, you've gone through so much. You've gotten through hundreds of metaphorical temascals and warrioress temascals. And like their message was like, this what you're feeling right now, this fear, this heat, the steam, the small space, the 18 other people in this room with you, the darkness, all of this is nothing compared to that, to what you've gone through. That was what was coming. And it was like this it was an initiation in of itself to feel all the panic, all the fear, all of my body, and try to be very present. And then also take that message in. And I was also, of course, perceiving everybody else, the 18 people in there who were having their own journey, but some who were also panicking. And I was like really trying to be in the moment and realizing like, oh my gosh, this is what this Temascal is about for me. It's not about, can I, overcome my fear? It wasn't that. It was like, what I understood, and there's more to this, but what I understood in the long span that this temazcal lasted, that I was moving past a self concept, a way that I saw myself that was outdated. And the way was as someone who is too sensitive, someone who's not as confident as others, someone who can have a lot of fear, can have crippling anxiety, all of those things. And I'm not saying that I live with those stories predominantly in my head, because if I did, obviously there would be a lot of things I wouldn't do. But it's still a way that parts of me saw myself, would see myself as. And it was in that moment, in that cauldron, literally, right? Because the way at the Mascal works is it goes through stages, what they call puertas, which means doors. So there's a primera puerta, the first door, which is a certain amount of heat, right? And you create the heat by the facilitator putting water on these hot stones, on las abuelitas, and it creates all the steam. And then when you get through the first puerta, there might be a little break. Maybe they open the little makeshift door, a little fresh air comes in. Maybe you take a little water, and then there's another puerta, and then that one's hotter. And so it builds and builds and builds. So this is what's happening as you're in this sweat lodge, this temazcal. And so through that whole journey, it was this dissolving of this old concept, because what the grandmothers were telling me was like, you're a warrior, guerrera, warrioress. Like, see that about yourself. Yes, my form of warrioress looks different than others. It doesn't mean that I am not sensitive, because I am. It doesn't mean that I don't often wake up with anxiety, because I do. It doesn't mean that I don't experience fear, because I do, all of those things. But all of those can be true. And it can also be true that I have a lot of courage, that I've done a lot of things that have stretched me past my comfort zone, right? That have been courageous, that have been brave, that have been bold. And so in those moments, in that journey, that's what was happening. It was like I was battling with this old self-concept of mine. And towards the end, where you can, when you're in this round circular dome, if you get too hot, you can always sit on the floor because it's cooler. Or if you're feeling like, for me, it feels like spirit move you can stand and literally be in the heat, right? Because it is like hot, like when you stand, because the heat rises. And I was not interested in standing. I was like, I will stay on the floor. But there was a moment, as I kept hearing and kept, asking for help, but really my prayer was like, if I'm meant to stay, I want to be in here, not from some sort of ego trip, like I have to prove to myself that I'm strong enough, not from that, but from like, if this is an initiation, if there's a healing for me here, which I believe there is. And so at that moment, I stood up, and it's very intensely hot. I stood up, and it was like that heat on my skin. And it was that moment of like, oh my God, there was this real focused, present moment of literally feeling that self-concept stretch and like burst. And it was in such a palpable, physical way. And of course, there's 18 other people there. Of course, we're collectively experiencing a healing. I had I don't know how to, like a rattle, that I was, because at one point the facilitator was like, does anybody want a rattle? And I was like, I will take a rattle, because I was like, I'll do whatever to help me stay grounded, So I was playing a rattle. There was like sacred chanting happening. And so all of this movement was happening, but I still had to decide to stay, right? So since then, what I shared in my blog and what I'm sharing with you, that's been the practice, is like recognizing, oh, what is that old self-concept, and I'm stepping into a new one. So this is the question for you. That whole story was to bring you to you, right? What is the old self-concept, old vision of yourself, old story of yourself that is still in there, is still maybe very front and center, or maybe behind the scenes, that is still holding you back in some way. Because if you notice, there's been a pattern to all of these priestess transmissions, especially the last few weeks. There's this like preparation, right? I keep talking about this preparation. Now, we've been preparing for like our whole life, for lifetimes, but there is this preparation as we end the year. It's like our soul's like, all right, let's get as much healing in as possible so that 2024 comes in and we take off. And I don't mean take off like for our own glory. We take off for the healing of humanity, right? We're able to be so much more present, so much more compassionate, so much more loving, so much more authentic. That's really the key. It's that authenticity, to show up exactly as you are. And so I want you to think about, what is the self concept? Is it that you're not good at money? Is it that you're too sensitive? Is it that you're not good at communicating your message, right? Is it that you're not confident enough? Is it that you're still a newbie at your field? It's so interesting. In my coaching practice, I work with amazing, amazing women. I have a few male clients too. So all the male clients that come to me are always amazing as well. And what I mean by that is like, they have so much love to give. They're so gifted. They have actually so much experience, and yet they can have a part that's still stuck in an old self-concept. Like it can even be just like 5 years ago or a year ago. Like where it hasn't caught up with you. Like, oh wait, that's right. I've been doing this for how many years? Like, wait, I have this experience. That's right. I've gone through so much. I do have expertise. And again, this isn't coming from an egotistical place. This is coming from actually true humility, to see yourself as your soul sees you, as the divine sees you. So it's really important that we start to fully acknowledge, where am I still seeing myself in an old way? And all that means, if you heard the last transmission last week, is that you're seeing yourself through the lens of a part. And what needs to happen, as it happened to me in the Temascal in a very palpable, kind of intense way, was that there was this, to me, it literally felt like this lens that I was seeing myself through. Now, I've done a ton of healing. So it's not like it was my first time doing any type of healing. It was just critical mass, right? It was momentum from all the years, from all the yeses, from all the initiations, from all the showing up, that everything just was in the right recipe for this next level of healing to happen. It was also my birthday month. So, well, it wasn't my birthday month then, because that was right when I got here, but it was, I had just landed in Mexico. I had just relocated. So it was this like intense portal I was in. So, but the beauty of all this is that I know I wasn't there just for me. I was there for my family, of course, for my ancestors, for future generations, but also for my clients, for my students, for any of you who are guided to my work, who are guided to watch these. That's the beauty of this. So you might one day go to a Temascal, and that would be amazing. You might go to one I lead. I might lead a Temascal. Maybe you'll be guided to come. But even if you don't, that healing, that transformation is here for you. And so really, invite your soul, invite your enlightened ancestors, as I have my ancestor candle here lit. Because your ancestors know the old self-concept that you might be carrying might have been passed on through your lineage. I'm too much. I'm not enough. I'm someone that people abandon. I'm someone that people judge. What is the thing that's been playing in the background, or maybe it's been very much in the forefront? And so we call on the enlightened ancestors to help you. And so I'll just offer you some questions, some prompts that you can ask. And the first one is that, what I'm trying to tune into the words. They just wants to keep using self-concept. You can replace it with something else, self-image, but remember it means how you see yourself. And this is what I'm actually right now hearing. It's if you're like, I'm not sure, I don't know, this is what will help you. Think of something that you really get afraid of or nervous of or worried that people will judge you about. Like, what comes to mind? Like, what are some things that you're like, whether it's, oh, people are going to think I'm selfish, or they're going to think I don't know what I'm talking about, or they're going to think that I'm too overwhelming, or they're going to think that, I have no authority to talk about this or whatever, right? Think about that. Even if you're like, well, I don't worry about people judging me. Like maybe your worry is like, I worry that people are going to think I'm a follower and I do everything like everybody else does. I want to make sure people don't believe that, right? There's always, unless you're an ascended master, and I say this with all the love because I'm nowhere near an ascended master, there are fears that you're carrying. We all are. So, what are the things that tend to trigger you like, oh, I don't want people to think that about me, or that I'm really materialistic? So, because what that is showing you is a mirror. I'm not saying that, this is often misunderstood, that it's a mirror saying, yeah, you are. That's not what I'm saying. It's just mirroring, though, some self concept that you are carrying around like an old bag that is just like worn out, too heavy, overburdened, and ready to be recycled by the earth. And so that is what you need to think about. And if you want to share it here. If there's something that's coming to mind, like, oh my gosh, or maybe you just knew as soon as I said it, like, yeah, I know my old self concept. It's like, a very common one with a lot of my clients can be like, well, I really see myself as the helper, as a person that if anyone needs help, they come to me and I'm always available no matter what. That sounds like such a lovely self concept, like so beautiful, so saintly. But it really is not, because it's coming, when I'm talking about an old self concept, it's coming from a burden. Many of us have these old self concepts of servitude, of martyrdom. And so, what happens when I have clients that I help with this, it's not that I'm saying now you must become a selfish person and never help anyone. No, it's that it's really tuning in to that discernment and knowing that when you're feeling, if it's feeling burdensome, if it's feeling like you don't have any time for yourself or your creative projects, or to evolve your career, or to finish your book, or whatever it is, then it's a distraction. It's an old pattern that's playing, right? We talked about that last week. And so be very mindful. That's the prayer, right? The sobriety, this clarity that we're bringing. That's why I started with a prayer. I think that's why the Divine Mother said, switch it up today, start with the prayer, start with the invocation, because we all have blind spots and there's no judgment in that. It's just like we all, it's part of the human journey, but we can guarantee that we will be shown what we need to see if we pray or intend for that. If that's your intention, right? If your intention is like, I know sometimes I don't see the truth. I know I might have parts that don't want to look at this, but my prayer is to see it, to be sober. And when I talk about sobriety, I'm talking spiritual, mental, emotional, food, substances, all that is a whole other conversation, but of course it's all connected. And so what are those? Right? What is that old self-concept? I know one for me that I'm working on. I mean, I share it in the Temazcal piece, but I've dealt with so many, the last, I don't know, 12 years, so many health issues. I mean, before then, really, like I probably had a little bit of an arrogant part that was like, oh, I never get sick. I mean, honestly, mostly I just didn't have time to get sick. And then come like 2011, it was like all these random crazy things started happening with my body. I understand now it was a whole initiation. But I've realized that I've developed this self concept a part has that I can't. It's something about I have. I'm not. I'm still teasing it out, but it's something about my energy level. It's something about. It's something about that, and I'm working on that. I'm like hearing. It's like I'm speaking to you, but I'm also hearing like the Divine Mother, Mother Mary, Guadalupe, just really kind of showing me how I'm coming full circle with that. So I'll talk about that some more another time. I won't go off on that tangent right now. But you might have some clarity on some, and there might be some that you're feeling like you're sure on. And so today, tomorrow, the next few days, think about that. Bring it to your mind. Be in that exploration. And if want to write it in the comments later on, do that. If you're guided to schedule a private I have that free breakthrough consult. And when I say free, I want to be really clear. This is something I was thinking about before. It's free as in you don't have to pay money for it, right? It's like a 45-minute to 60-minute consultation. Mostly it's like an hour, right? But there is a cost, and I understand that, right? A lot of people are this is what I want to say. I think sometimes and I know this happened to me when I first started this work, it's like you don't want to do it free because you don't want it to be devalued. You don't want people to just take advantage, all of that stuff. I had to clean all of that up and do all sorts of inner work around that. What I've come to understand, even with these priestess transmissions, they're free. You don't have to pay for them with money, right? However, there is an investment you're making. So with this breakthrough consult, I understand that you're investing time, that it takes courage to schedule something like that. That you might be investing like, well, what if I'm disappointed? What if I do this and nothing comes out of it? Or what if I do this and this person judges me? Or what if I do this and my problem is just so big that it's unsolvable? Or what if I do this and I just go into deep shame because I realize I've been stuck for all these years and I should have healed before, right? So I understand that there's an investment. So when I say free, please do not misunderstand the value of the space of the session and of what you will be bringing. And I also understand that I get a lot from them. So I was really guided to share that. So if you're guided to do a breakthrough consult, I will have the link in the comments, and it's always on my website under free consult. But so let's just take a few breaths. Come into your heart, come into your body. And I just ask your soul, remember in the beginning, I invoked all of your souls and your higher selves. They will continue this conversation with you. And so I'm just going to pull a card for you. And actually, I'm going to pull from the Priestess of the Light. Oh my gosh, before that, let me remember this. I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget, and I was going to forget. Next week, episode 64 is going to be at a slightly different time. So sign up for my newsletter so you get it. It's a very, very special one. And I'm so amazed that it's almost exactly a year after the last one. My dear friend, Zoe Daly from Dublin, Ireland, will be joining me, and we're going to co-facilitate. Lady of Guadalupe, she is bringing in the energy of beautiful goddess Eru, who, she will definitely share more than me about Eru, but it's like she's like this goddess of Ireland. There's so many, but she's such an important one. And of course, we know Guadalupe is Our Lady of Guadalupe, she's not just from Mexico, she's for the world, but she has a very special connection to Mexico. So now I'm in Mexico, Zoe's in Dublin. We're going to come together and we're going to be together facilitating this Divine Mother attunement. This is, again, a free offering, but I just explained free, right? You are investing your money. You are investing your openness. You are investing your courage. And also, I ask if there's anyone that you know that you're like, oh my gosh, I would totally love to attend, let them know, or any of the priestess transmissions. But that's next week. I'm so excited. It's going to be about an hour long. It's going to be a longer one. So I hope to see you. Okay, so we're going to pull a Priestess of the Light card. And this is going to be the question. It's going to be very specific that's coming in. When you heal this self-concept, whatever it is that you're going to be working on, right? For me, I know I kind of brought in the whole thing about my energy. I'm going to be working on that. But the one I'm still really integrating is that one of just really seeing myself as a strong person, right? And so when you integrate your new concept, the new concept of yourself, what aspect of your priestess medicine is going to be birthed? Because that's why we do this, right? We do this so you can show up as even more authentic, more courageous, more you, who you are. So let's ask the question. This is going to be one for everyone here live and everyone who's watching the replay. What are we birthing as we release this old self-concept and allow this new vision from our soul, this vision of ourselves, of who we really are? What is it? Oh my gosh, two cards. Why? Oh my gosh. All right, it was 2 cards. I had to turn them both around. First, we have miracles, ancient wisdom. Look at that. How perfect is that? So this is what's being birthed. More of your ancient wisdom. And how perfect on day 1 of the Days of the Dead here. Días de los Muertos. It's such a special day here. But here, ancient wisdom. And then the other card that came up, healing earth. It says the power to give and receive healing. So this is what we are birthing. This is what's being awakened in us as we do the courageous work of releasing these old self-concept, this old vision of yourself, and having the courage to see yourself as your soul does. Right? To put on I know how they talk about the rose-colored glasses being a bad thing. I think it's an awesome thing. Not from a place of naivete, but from like, put on those glasses of your soul. See yourself like your soul sees you, and look at what's birth. And I know if you are here that you already are doing this. You're already a channel for miracles. You're already healing the earth. But this is saying more, because look at the earth. Look at all the pain and the suffering and the death that is happening. Our medicine is needed. All right, so I'm going to see Macy. Thank you. Oh, I'm so excited, Macy. Thank you so much. I'm so glad. I know you. I think of you often, and when I've been enjoying seeing you on Instagram as well. Hello, Destiny. It's been a while. I don't have time right now to pull an individual card, but maybe next week when Zoe is here, we might have time to do that. All right, bye everyone. It went a little over. Thank you for everything, and I will see you soon. And I will post pictures of, today in the Centro here in Mexico. There's an amazing procession of the Catrinas, which is, I didn't get to join this time because I just wasn't prepared for it. But next time I think I will participate. But I will participate as in I will be witnessing and watching it. This beautiful procession through the historic downtown here with altars and just people really adorning themselves in a very sacred way. So I will be posting that on Instagram. I'm sure I'll be sharing. So I hope you get to see that. And yes, of course, Destiny, thank you to Mother Mary and White Buffalo Woman. Yes, absolutely. Bye, everyone. I will talk to you soon. See ya.